A United States Navy vessel, the USS Canberra, has become the first ever to be commissioned in Australia, marking a new chapter for Australia's alliance with the United States. Joining us live now is Professor Joe Siracusa, political analyst at Curtin University. Joe, great to be with you. How significant is this?
Good afternoon, Gabriella. Well, it's a big deal. I mean, to commission a ship is a big deal. It enters the ship of the line. It has important roles to play, and it shows not only Australia's cooperation with the United States, but more importantly, it shows its interoperability. I mean, I think the Australian Armed Forces and the American Armed Forces, and by extension, even NATO forces, are not only interoperable, but probably interchangeable. So this is what they're aiming for, is they're aiming for some kind of interoperability like that to present to the enemy that you are looking at one combined enemy. So I think that's very effective.
A Chinese ship has been spotted off the Australian coast as the war games under exercise Talisman Sabre gets underway. Was that to be expected?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody spies on everybody in the international world, particularly when military exercises are going on. I mean, you got 13 countries, 30,000 men and women across the top of Australia using or doing various exercises and war games and the like. And I think it's important for foreign nations. I mean, it's important to them to have a look, and let them have a look. I mean, I think it's all about demonstrated ability to the enemy. I think the enemy should have, Australia and America and others have a declared policy of letting the other person know what they're in for on the day if they want to engage, and so let them have a look. I don't think it hurts anything, and they're going to take away a lot of information from this. They're going to, and of course, the Chinese like to punish people who are involved in these games. I mean, they'll probably come down hard on the Germans or maybe some South Pacific Islanders for cooperating with Australia. I mean, the Chinese have a way of getting even with people economically, since people are so economically dependent on the Chinese. So at the end of the day, there may be, you might have to pay the piper for these exercises. But I think overall, in terms of spirit, and what I mean by that is just the intermixing of the various armies and the military people to get a good look at each other, particularly on the Australian terrain, I think that's invaluable.
Looking more closely at what's going on in the United States, can you take us through Donald Trump's growing legal problems and how they could impact the presidential election?
Yes, his legal problems. Trump reminds me of that kid trying to hit the pinata with a blindfold on with a stick, trying to open it up. I mean, he's got all these problems. He's got a couple trials coming up. He's fighting the courts about when the dates are. The documents trial, which I do not think reaches the level of criminal charges myself. He wanted, I think, later in the year, next year, and he got May instead. And the government wanted December so they could nail him before the elections, that kind of thing. And then, of course, we got other trials, other indictments coming down the road in Georgia. And, of course, the president has to answer for the laundering of the money or the paying of these monies to his friend, and while lying about it in court. So, he's got the New York charges. Yet none of this is going to make any difference. For some reason, Gabriella, every time Donald Trump gets in trouble with the law, he gets greater support within the Republican Party. His opponents are afraid to attack him personally because they too think that the charges are extraneous, that is, that they're pumped up or trumped up charges. I hate to use the word again. And that his opponents kind of fall away. They don't want to attack him personally when he's under this kind of condition. At the same time, they want to attack the government, so that makes him look good. And so, as I've said a number of times, he could run for president while he's in jail. He could be president while he's in jail. Though this would be very hard to get the Secret Service in the same cell, I imagine. So he's got perks for life. Makes no difference. But look, no matter what happens to Donald Trump on the legal scene, it doesn't seem to hurt him politically. And of course, now he has incredible motivation to be elected president of the United States, because when he does, he's going to just pick up the horn and tell his attorney general to drop all the charges or to back away. So the attorney general works at the favor of the president. Here we have a Biden attorney general going after Trump. Everyone sees it as political, whether it is or not. Sure looks political, and so Trump will do the same thing. My only concern is that we're caught in this kind of echo chamber, this cycle where you try to put the opposition in jail, and when Trump gets in, when he gets in, he's going to try to put these guys in jail. So you have to ask yourself, when does this all stop?
Professor Joe Siracusa, we're almost out of time, but I'd also like to get your assessment on the worsening situation in Ukraine and how that's impacting Biden's diplomacy.
Well, Biden has diminished the ideas of Putin turning into nuclear weapons. So I think Putin would use a tactical nuclear weapon, and he's sort of ignoring the ceasefire, which I get upset about. I think he should do everything he can. And look, Gabriella, there's a dirty little secret among Russian specialists in Europe, and that is without direct NATO intervention, they don't see Ukraine lasting more than 3 to 6 months. Ukraine has suffered about 433,000 casualties. That's dead and wounded. There are only 30 million people out of 44 who started there. And so, at the end of the day, Ukraine's going to become one of these places that's going to have urban warfare, and the Chechens and Wagner Group will be chasing people down in cities. But look, I think Ukraine is going to go down in the tubes, and I think it's incumbent on the President of the United States to cut a ceasefire and then to guarantee what's left of Ukraine. But this idea of continuing to fight with President Putin in a proxy war that goes absolutely nowhere, I think that borders on, either stupidity or criminal negligence.
Professor Joseph Siracusa, we do have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. We appreciate your insights and analysis.
Thank you.